Vegas lights still burn, but the crowds are gone. Former executives, dealers, and pit bosses whisper a chilling truth. The Strip isn't empty by accident. It's been engineered that way. Corporate memos, secret pricing meetings, and quiet policy changes all pointed toward one goal: drive out everyday players and rebuild Vegas for billionaires. But the whales never came. Now iconic resorts sit half full, while longtime workers face layoffs and silence fills once roaring casino floors. You'll discover how a hidden plan meant to maximize profit triggered a slow collapse of the entertainment capital of the world. Because the real gamble wasn't at the tables, it was the casinos themselves. The leaked memo that changed Vegas. In October 2022, a strategy memo circulated through boardrooms of the Strip's biggest operators. Its title, the Premium Guest Initiative. One former MGM executive said, "It looked like another quarterly update, until you read the fine print." The memo's core instruction was simple: optimize revenue per occupied room by reducing promotional spend on sub-premium segments while enhancing high-value guest acquisition. In plain English, stop giving perks to the regulars and chase millionaires instead. For decades, Vegas thrived on the working class: teachers, truck drivers, nurses, couples saving all year for 3 nights of neon escape. But this new strategy flipped the script. Casinos began phasing out comps, cutting drink service, and pricing out low rollers. The middle class wasn't just ignored, they were filtered out by design. An insider later admitted, "No one said it out loud in meetings, but the goal was clear: make it uncomfortable enough for small players to walk away." That memo was the spark. A plan built on spreadsheets, not showmanship. A plan that turned a city of dreams into a data model. When any business starts using the word premium too often, it usually means you're about to pay more for less. Pandemic profits and the dangerous lesson: when the pandemic hit, Vegas went dark. Casinos shuttered, flights stopped, and the Strip looked like a ghost town for the first time in decades. But behind the scenes, something unexpected happened. The math didn't collapse. Operating at only 60% capacity, casinos realized they could still pull in nearly the same profits as before. How? By raising room rates, slashing comps, and catering to the few guests who could still afford to play. Less volume, more yield. It was supposed to be a survival strategy, but executives mistook it for a revelation. A former revenue analyst told me, the data was intoxicating. Fewer guests, cleaner floors, same profits. They thought they'd cracked the code. So, when restrictions lifted, the premium model stayed. The logic was simple: why work harder to host everyone when you can charge a few more to do the same? But this lesson was dangerous. Because the moment you start excluding the masses, you break the heartbeat of Vegas: energy, excitement, and constant motion. Casinos forgot that Vegas was built on crowds, not margins. On laughter echoing across packed tables, not silence over velvet ropes. When a company profits from scarcity, it's not adapting, it's conditioning. Watch what they do after the crisis ends. That's when their real intent shows. Coordinated pricing, the cartel on the Strip. For years, Vegas thrived on fierce competition. One casino dropped table minimums, the others followed. One offered free buffets, everyone else scrambled to match. It was a neon arms race, and players were the winners. But sometime around 2023, that changed. Behind closed doors, casino executives started holding what they called competitive alignment meetings. Former managers say these calls sounded innocent, sharing market insights, pricing forecasts. In reality, they were quietly coordinating prices. When one resort raised resort fees, others followed within days. When a major property bumped blackjack minimums to $25, the rest matched the same week. Even table payouts synced across the Strip, creating an illusion of choice. One regional director put it bluntly: nobody wanted to be the cheap property. Cheap brought the wrong element. That phrase, wrong element, wasn't about crime. It meant budget-conscious travelers, the same working-class visitors who built Vegas in the first place. It wasn't a market anymore. It was a cartel in designer suits. The Strip became one massive, coordinated organism designed to keep prices high and players compliant. True value lives where competition still breathes. Downtown Vegas, off-strip locals casinos, that's where the old rules still apply. Step 1. The resort fee trap. It starts innocently. You see a room for $79 a night, click Book Now, and think you just scored a Vegas deal. But then, at checkout, the total jumps to $130, a little line labeled Resort Fee quietly added beneath the taxes. Most guests shrug and pay it. That's exactly what casinos count on. Ex-revenue analysts from MGM and Caesars have admitted to using something called pain threshold modeling. Every quarter, they ran tests, inching fees up by $2 or $5, and watched cancellation rates. As long as less than 8% of bookings dropped, the fees kept rising. Over time, those hidden costs became a billion-dollar income stream. By separating the fee from the room price, casinos could advertise cheap rooms while charging luxury rates. Psychologically, by the time you reach checkout, you've already committed, booked flights, requested vacation, imagined yourself at the slots. They know you'll click confirm. A former pricing manager even said, "We didn't raise rates, we raised psychology." And that's the brilliance or cruelty of it. Vegas turned basic math into manipulation. Before you book, always check the total cost, room, tax, and resort fee. The lowest advertised price is rarely the cheapest stay. Step 2. Tables for the few. Once upon a time, Vegas tables were alive with chatter. You could find a $5 blackjack game on nearly every floor, where tourists and locals shared laughs and chips. Today, that's almost gone, not by accident, but by algorithm. Starting around 2020, casino analysts began running table yield studies. The goal? Maximize profit per square foot. They discovered something counterintuitive. Raising table minimums and cutting the number of open games actually increased revenue. A former Bellagio pit boss explained it simply. $10 tables fill up fast. People sit longer, drink more, and bet small. But at $50 a hand, the few who play are too proud to quit early. Fewer players, more profit, less staff required. By 2024, blackjack tables under $15 made up barely 10% of the strip. At the Wynn and Encore, the minimum soared to $200. The Fontainebleau opened with $300 blackjack minimums, a message to casual players. This isn't for you. The side effect? The heartbeat of Vegas, the laughter, the camaraderie, vanished. The floor feels quieter now, colder. The kind of silence money can't replace. If you're hunting fair tables, head downtown or off-strip. That's where the remaining $5, $15 minimums still survive, and where the real Vegas still lives. Step 3. Tightening the slots. You've probably felt it. The spins just don't last as long as they used to. The same $100 that once gave you hours of play now vanishes in under 90 minutes. It's not your imagination. It's math. Every slot machine in Nevada runs on a programmed hold percentage, the slice of every wager the house keeps over time. On the Strip, that average used to hover around 7.8%. By 2024, it climbed to over 8.2%. That sounds small, but across billions wagered, each 0.1% equals tens of millions in extra profit. But there's more. Casinos began adjusting volatility settings, how often a machine pays versus how much. They shifted to high volatility modes, fewer wins, but bigger jackpots. Sounds exciting, right? Except it drains your bankroll faster, and most players never hit that giant payout. A former IGD technician told an industry reporter, casinos realized they could make the same profit in half the time by tightening frequency, not just percentages. That's why your session feels colder, shorter, less forgiving. You're not unlucky, you're optimized. Play older machines with published RTP above 95%, often tucked in quieter areas or locals casinos. The shinier the cabinet, the tighter the math. Step 4. The loyalty program betrayal. Once upon a time, loyalty meant something in Vegas. You played, you earned points, you got your free rooms, buffets, and show tickets. It felt like a fair trade, your time for their perks. But now, those programs are just glossy illusions. By 2024, every major operator, MGM Rewards, Caesars Rewards, Wynn Rewards, quietly devalued their points. Free rooms suddenly required 25 to 40% more credits. Dynamic pricing replaced fixed rates, so your comp night could double in cost during weekends. Worse, redemption fees and blackout dates crept in without warning. One longtime Caesars Diamond member posted online about trying to use his reward credits for dinner at Hell's Kitchen. He needed 12,000 credits, plus a $50 surcharge for an $85 meal. The comp literally cost more than paying cash. A former loyalty manager later confirmed, "We were told to reduce real redemption value by 30% without changing the program name. So we limited when and where points could be used." It looked the same, but it wasn't. Casinos call it enhancing the guest experience. Players call it what it is: betrayal wrapped in branding. Always calculate the cash value of your points. If it's worth less than a penny per credit, your loyalty is being taxed. Voices from the floor. If you really want to know what's happening in Vegas, don't ask the executives. Ask the people who live on the floor. The dealers, hosts, servers, and pit bosses who've seen the slow transformation up close. One former Bellagio host wrote on an internal forum, "We were told to stop servicing players whose average daily loss was under $1,000. I had regulars I'd known for 15 years. I was told to let them naturally attrit." That phrase, natural attrition, became corporate language for ghosting loyal customers until they disappeared. Another dealer, from the Venetian, posted on TikTok before the video vanished. "We used to have guys who played $10 craps every Friday for years. After minimums went up to $25, they just left. The tables got quieter. Management called it efficiency. We called it empty." And perhaps the most heartbreaking story came from a retired schoolteacher who had saved all year for her 2 annual trips. When she called to book, her usual comp room was gone. The new rate? $489 a night, plus a $52 resort fee. She simply said, "I guess Vegas doesn't want me anymore." That's not business strategy. That's erasing the very people who built the city's legacy. True loyalty now lives in local and regional casinos. They still remember your name, because you still matter. The whale fallacy. When the big casino chains launched their premium guest strategy, they were betting everything on whales, the ultra-rich gamblers who could lose hundreds of thousands in a weekend and barely blink. Executives believed that if they pushed out the middle class, these high rollers would flood in. They were wrong. Baccarat, the favorite game of the wealthy, tells the real story. Revenue dropped nearly 3% in 2024, and the number of tables on the Strip fell for the first time in a decade. If the whales were really coming, those tables would have multiplied. Instead, casinos quietly started closing them. Bo Bernhard from UNLV summed it up best. "Whales are global, not loyal. They chase comps, exclusivity, and the next hot destination. This year, that might be Singapore or Macau. Next year, it's Dubai. Vegas used to be the center of the universe. Now it's just one stop on a private jet's itinerary." A former MGM executive put it bluntly, "We built a business model for customers who don't actually exist in sustainable numbers. The middle class provided steady cash flow. Whales bring flash, not consistency. The best players aren't whales. They're consistent, disciplined, and loyal." Casinos forgot that. Don't make the same mistake. The empty Strip. If you walk the Strip today on a Tuesday afternoon, it doesn't look like the Vegas you remember. The fountains still dance, the lights still glow, but something's missing. The crowd. Midweek occupancy on the Strip has fallen to its lowest levels in over a decade. Casinos that once buzzed with energy now echo with emptiness. Dealers stand idle, pit bosses check their phones, and slot machines blink endlessly with no one watching. A cocktail server at a major resort told a local station, "It's like a ghost town. 2 years ago, I couldn't stop moving. Now, I'm lucky to serve 10 tables in a shift." And here's the cruel irony. The emptier the casino feels, the worse the experience gets. Vegas was never about quiet luxury. It was about energy, chaos, and possibility. When you strip that away, you're left with expensive emptiness. Social media feeds are full of videos showing half-empty gaming floors, restaurants with open tables at peak hours, and once-packed nightclubs struggling to fill VIP booths. The illusion is cracking, and people are noticing. In Vegas, energy is currency. Before booking, check recent crowd videos or reviews. They tell you more about a property's health than any press release ever will. The service collapse. Vegas was built on service. The dealers who remembered your name, the cocktail servers who brought your drink before you even asked, the housekeepers who left towel swans on your bed. That personal magic made people come back. But when casinos chased efficiency over loyalty, that human touch became a casualty. As the middle-class guests disappeared, management cut staff to match reduced demand. On paper, it looked smart. In reality, it triggered a downward spiral. Fewer guests meant fewer workers. Fewer workers meant slower service. Slower service meant fewer guests. The math worked. The experience didn't. A veteran dealer at Caesar's Palace wrote on a forum, "We used to have 8 dealers on the floor during day shift. Now it's 5. Tables sit closed. We turn players away because we don't have staff to open them. Guests notice, and they don't forget." Online forums like r/Las Vegas are now filled with complaints about dirty rooms, cold food, long lines, and zero vibe. The service standard that once defined the city is fading. Vegas can survive tighter odds, but it can't survive bad hospitality. When service disappears, value disappears with it. Reward the properties that still treat you like a guest, not a data point. Financial freefall. Behind the neon and the music, the numbers tell a darker story. Profits are slipping, debt is growing, and for the first time in decades, Vegas operators are quietly hitting the brakes. In early 2025, MGM Resorts delayed its $1.2 billion Luxor renovation. Caesars shelved plans for a new tower at Paris Las Vegas. These weren't cosmetic pauses, they were warning lights. When expansion stops in Vegas, it's because something underneath is cracking. Bloomberg later reported that several Strip properties were in early talks with investors about potential sales or restructurings. That's corporate code for "we need help." Meanwhile, Clark County's own tax forecasts predict gaming revenue will drop more than 4% by 2026. Even the county is bracing for the fallout, preparing budget cuts and tax hikes to offset declining casino income. For a city whose economy is the casino floor, that's a 5-alarm fire. A gaming analyst put it bluntly: if visitation keeps falling, some Strip resorts will decide it's not worth operating. We could see partial closures by 2026. The house always wins until it runs out of players. When casinos stop investing, that's your cue. A property that isn't reinvesting in itself isn't investing in your experience either. The fork in the road, Vegas is standing at a crossroads. And for once, the cards aren't in its favor. Inside boardrooms, executives are split between two philosophies. One side insists the premium model can still work if they just wait it out. The other says the only way to save the city is to swallow pride and bring the people back. A former MGM executive told me, "We know what has to happen. Lower table minimums, cut resort fees, improve loyalty rewards. But that means taking a hit this quarter, and no one wants to be the first to blink." Wall Street doesn't reward humility, only short-term gains. But Vegas isn't built on quarterly reports. It's built on repeat guests, on families who come back year after year because they feel welcomed. You can't buy that with whale comps or velvet ropes. Industry veterans like Anthony Curtis remain optimistic. He believes the city will eventually self-correct because competition always finds a way. Others, like consultant Andrew Klebino, warn that the damage may already be done. You can spend 3 years telling people they not wanted and expect them to come running back. Every dollar you spend is a vote. Support the properties that respect you, because your loyalty still has power. Next, we reach the finale, the last hand in this high-stakes gamble. Can Vegas admit its mistake before it is too late? The final bet, can Vegas be saved? Vegas has always lived by one rule: the house never loses. But this time, the house may have bet against itself. The grand experiment to rebuild the city for the rich has backfired. The whales never came, the loyal players left, and the Strip stands half empty, still glowing, but hollow. Yet there's a chance to turn it around. The same resilience that built this city from desert sand still runs through its veins. The formula isn't complicated. Lower the barriers, restore fair play, and remember who made Vegas great: the everyday visitor chasing a little fun and a little luck. As one former executive told me, Vegas forgot that it's not just a place, it's a feeling. That energy, that excitement, that sense of shared possibility, it only exists when everyone is welcome. But time is running out. If the big operators don't change course, some of the most iconic resorts may vanish before the decade ends. Pro player move. You hold more power than you think. Speak up, share your story, and choose wisely where you play. Vegas doesn't need whales, it needs believers. Because in the end, the city that taught the world how to gamble is facing its greatest bet yet: whether it can rebuild trust before the lights dim for good.